GitHub forking existing projects. All public projects on GitHub can be forked. This creates a copy of the repo, including all of its branches, from one account to another. So this effectively clones a repo, but instead we use the term forking to describe the way in which a project is split, that is, it is copied from one account to another. Once created, GitHub will check the original and the new copy for commits. Again, remember from the previous video on terms and concepts, a commit is a set of changes to files within a repo. So as commits are applied to different repos, GitHub checks these across repos if they are forks of one another or if one is a fork of the other. So if the original repo has commits, the new one does not, it is a head. That is said to be ahead a number of commits, and the new repo is behind a number of commits. And these terms describe one repo in relation to another. So a new repo might be ahead and the old one behind, or the original repo might be ahead and the other one behind. So again, these just describe the number of commits that have been applied since whatever previous point that they were rebased. That is, they were synchronized at one point, and now they are either ahead or behind when looking at one compared to the other. So again, we can use this term rebased to describe a synchronization of the commits of the sets of changes from one repo to another. Again, this is often used to keep two repos in sync with each other. So I think this will make the most sense to look at an example. So I'm going to move over to Firefox, where I have some code pulled up here. So this is obviously someone else's repository. So I'm logged in under a different account. In fact, this account is called MD Tutorials, so we can look at this. And I don't have a copy of this repository, but again, I want to make a copy of it. So in GitHub, when I'm looking at another project I don't currently have a fork of, I can fork that code by clicking on the button fork right here. So when I click on fork, this will create a copy. Notice it here says forking. Based on it says it should only take a few seconds. All right, and now I have my own copy based on that previous code. I have now forked that project. Now notice right here it says this branch is even with Fidelis master. Master is the name of the branch in the other repository. So it is even, that is to say that there are no commits that are either ahead or behind when looking across these repos, comparing one to the other. However, in thinking about commits, let's take a second to look at this. So this tells us that previously, 15 hours ago, there were up to 3 commits, with the last one happening 15 hours ago. So we have commits made on September 7th and commits made on August 30th. Notice this was an initial commit, and then we have the summaries of each of these. And clicking on these would give us the descriptions and the exact files, sets of changes made to those files within those commits. So we are currently then coming over to code, looking at this as a copy of, a fork of another project. And in fact, look, it says it right here that we have MD tutorial / the name of this repo is forked from Fidelis / the name of this repo. So again, we can think of forking as creating a copy of an existing repo. When we do this, then GitHub keeps track of if we are ahead or behind. So if I applied commits to this repo, I would then be ahead of the Fidelis copy of the Fidelis repo. In which case then, if I wanted to, I could submit a pull request to ask the Fidelis repo to pull in those changes, because I've created a copy on my account and there's a copy on the original account. So again, we're talking about commits and sets of changes. They're either behind or ahead to compare one to the other. In this case, they are currently even because this is a current copy of this code. But if changes were made to the other repo, it would be ahead. But if changes were made to mine that the other one didn't have, I would be ahead and the other one would be behind when compared across them. So again, as a review, forking existing projects is extremely easy in GitHub. We simply use the fork button to describe making a copy. Once we have that, then GitHub can start to think about relationships of one repo to another.